Hello and welcome to my video, Top 10 Hidden Treasures. Number 10, the Knight Templars Treasure. The Knights Templar were a group of soldiers commissioned to help fight in the Crusades. These men became very powerful and prominent until King Philip IV had them disbanded quickly after rising into power. The king went so far as to call them heretics and had many of them burned at the stake just in order not to pay them. It is speculated that many Templars escaped their fate and also were able to amass a rich collection of treasure which they kept hidden. Reportedly, their riches included much gold and many lost religious artifacts such as the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant. No one is quite sure where the knights hid their treasure or if it is all just a fable. Number 9. Forrest Fenn. In 1988, an art dealer by the name of Forrest Fenn was diagnosed with cancer. He then decided to hide a treasure worth $1 to $3 million in the Rocky Mountains, where he would die and it would become his legacy. Forrest survived the cancer, but when he was 79, he did hide the treasure. He left a vague poem for a clue as to where the treasure is located. As the years have gone on, Fenn has dropped more clues, but all are cryptic in nature. To this day, no one has found the treasure and some doubt it exists, viewing it as a metaphor for the treasure of nature. Recently, Fenn's last clue, "I know the treasure chest is wet," has reignited the hope that the loot is real. Number 8. The Amber Room. Constructed in Prussia in the 18th century, this valuable room was considered the eighth wonder of the world until its disappearance. The room, originally created to be installed in Charlatan Palace, was later moved to Catherine Palace. It consisted of over 6 tons or 13,000 pounds of pure amber along with gold. During World War II, the Nazi troops invaded the Soviet Union. In an attempt to hide the treasured room from being stolen, the curators put up wallpaper over the amber to try to hide it. The illusion failed, and within 36 hours the Nazis had the room disabled, and later they put it up on display in Königsberg Castle. The Amber Room was later moved once again, but at this point it is a mystery as to what happened to it. In 1979, the room was reconstructed and presented as at the 300th anniversary of the city of St. Petersburg. Number 7. Cocos Island. This bounty is claimed to have given Robert Louis Stevenson his idea for his book Treasure Island. Many pirates visited this island, which is located in Costa Rica, and many claim to have buried treasure on it. The treasure of Lima is said to be hidden on this island. In 1820, Viceroy José de la Serna entrusted their Spanish treasure with a British trader named Captain William Thompson, who was to watch over the loot until the Spaniards captured the country. Thompson decided to take off with the treasure and buried it for safekeeping on Cocos Island. All of his crew were captured and executed except for Williams and his first mate. The two men said they would show the Spanish fleet where the treasure was in exchange for their lives. Once the Spaniards arrived on the island, both men escaped and disappeared into the jungle. Today, some of the treasure has been found, but Cocos Island is now a national park that doesn't allow inhabitants other than park rangers. Number 6. Dutch Schultz's Cache. Dutch was a mobster during the 1920s to the 1930s, at which point he was killed at the age of 34. He was known for his brutal temper, of which this gained him respect and position in the mafia. He amassed his wealth through organized crime activities such as bootlegging and numbers rackets. Just before his death, he feared he was going to jail for tax evasion, so he took $7 million in cash and bonds, put it in an airtight, waterproof safe, and buried it somewhere in upstate New York. Later, he was killed in an organized hit, and with his death took the location of the treasure to his grave. His rival, Lucky Luciano, spent the rest of his life searching for the treasure, but came up empty. To this day, treasure hunters meet annually to search for the lost cache. Number 5. Oak Island. Along Canada's coast is the fabled money pit of Oak Island. By most accounts, the pit was discovered in 1795 by Daniel McInnes, who noticed an indentation in the ground and a block and tackle hanging in an oak tree above the indent. Oak Island was known as a pirate stopping point, and in fact Captain William Kidd claimed to have buried treasure somewhere on the island. Daniel and some friends dug at the spot and found a stone to which they lifted and only found dirt underneath. As they kept digging, they kept hitting wood planks that covered air pockets, and under that, more wood planks. Much later on, the Onslow Company started digging at the hole and at 90 feet found a stone with strange carvings on it. One university claims to have deciphered it to say, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried. Many people have tried to excavate this area, but it has led to death and heartache. Number 4. Victoria Peak. This treasure is said to be located in Victoria Peak in New Mexico. In the 1930s, a man by the name of Milton Doc Noss was out hunting deer in the area with 4 others. At one point in his hunt, it started to rain, so he took shelter in a cave and soon noticed a strange stone. When he removed the stone, he found it covered what appeared to be a mine shaft. He and his wife later returned in secret, and he alone explored the shaft. He reported finding at least 27 skeletons, but also found a treasure heap of gold, coins, and jewels calculated to be worth $2 billion. In an attempt to open the mine bigger, too much dynamite was used and it sealed the mine from everyone. In 1949, during a dispute with a drilling company, Noss was shot in the head, and coincidentally only had $2.16 in his pocket. Currently, the military owns the land and no one is allowed to enter. Number 3. The Dead Sea Scrolls treasure map. The Dead Sea Scrolls were found in Qumran in 1952 in a cave. While the scrolls were made of papyrus, there was one scroll that was made of copper. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain texts of biblical nature, but this one odd copper scroll contained locations of gold and silver that were buried. All in all, the scroll details 64 locations, with 63 of them containing treasure, stating in the amount of tons. Mysteriously, it is mentioned within that there is a second scroll that gives better details, but that scroll has never been found. There are also reports that the Templars, who were first on this list, located this treasure, and it is the reason that they were accused of heresy. Number 2. The Pearly Galleon. In 1612, Spain constructed ships to hunt for pearls, seeing as pearls were deemed more valuable than gold at the time. They finally reached their destination sailing along the Mexican coast, where they met the Native Americans that lived there. The Spaniards tried to rip off the Native Americans and were chased up the Gulf of California. They continued deeper north, finding many pearl-rich waters. After a great period of time, they vowed to return home, only to find themselves landlocked in an ever-shrinking mass of water. They reluctantly abandoned their pearl-filled ships once the water got too low, and were later rescued in Guaymas, Mexico. Their boats were steadily being covered by sand and becoming a lost fleet. Stories of the treasure reach far and wide, but no one has been able to find the ships or pearls. Today it is said the area has yet again became a lake, and with it the ships buried under sand at the bottom. Number 1. Swami Temple Vaults. The temple is known as Padmanabha Swami, which is located in India, and is considered the richest Hindu temple in the world. Located deep in the temple are 6 vaults, of which Vault B is the most famous. So far, the other vaults have contained over $22 billion of valuable gold. Vault B was not part of the temple treasury, but is sealed with 3 doors. 2 of those doors have been opened, but the third is proving most confounding. The third door doesn't have any nuts, bolts, or latches. On it is a depiction of 2 serpents, and claims state that the only way to open it is through a long-lost chant. I will see you in the next one. Later.